Once, a young man came to a monk and said, "I want to live a life of greatness, a life that inspires, a life of big dreams." The monk smiled gently and replied, "Are you ready to give up comfort for it?" The young man hesitated, and that's where most people pause. They desire the top of the mountain, but they're not ready to climb it. My friends, we all dream. Some dream of success, some dream of peace, some dream of wealth, some dream of leaving a mark in this world. But very few understand that the size of your dream must be matched by the size of your sacrifice. If you want to build a skyscraper, you must dig deep. If you want to fly high, you must train your wings. There's no shortcut. Think of a seed. To become a tree, it must first disappear. It loses its form, its comfort, its identity, only to grow into something far greater. Every great musician sacrificed sleep for practice. Every great entrepreneur sacrificed security for risk. Every great athlete sacrificed comfort for consistency. And every great soul sacrificed ego for humility. It's easy to want success, but are you willing to stay up when the world sleeps? Are you ready to be misunderstood when others don't see your vision? Are you prepared to walk alone at times with only your belief to guide you? Let me remind you, when you say yes to your dream, you will often say no to many other things. Friends, parties, laziness, even fear. But that no is not a loss. It's the price you pay for purpose. And the truth is, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. So dream big, but also commit big. Be willing to let go of who you are for who you can become. Because in the furnace of sacrifice, greatness is forged. And remember, when the dream is big, the sacrifice is not suffering, it becomes sacred. You cannot achieve extraordinary results with ordinary efforts. This truth echoes in every success story throughout history. When people talk about dreaming big, they often envision the glory, the applause, the rewards, but they forget the sleepless nights, the early mornings, the repeated failures, and the silent moments of doubt that are part of that journey. The dream may look glamorous from a distance, but the path is paved with discipline, sacrifice, and relentless effort. Ordinary effort is comfortable. It allows us to stay within what is familiar, what feels safe, what doesn't stretch us too far. But extraordinary dreams, those that change your life or even the world, require you to break past those limits. They demand that you give more than what's expected, push harder than what's comfortable, and show up even when no one else does. Think of anyone who has ever achieved something remarkable. Whether it's an artist, an athlete, a scientist, or a spiritual leader, they didn't get there by just doing the bare minimum. They made choices that others weren't willing to make. They woke up before the sun, worked while others relaxed, stayed focused when distractions called, and kept going when results were slow. That kind of commitment becomes the dividing line between wishing and achieving. Ordinary efforts can give you a good life, but if your dream is to live a meaningful life, one that leaves an impact, one that you are proud of when you look back, then ordinary won't do. You must raise your standards. You must pour your heart, your time, and your discipline into what you believe in. Only then will your extraordinary dream become your extraordinary reality. Every accomplishment comes with a cost. Time, energy, comfort, or ego. This is a truth we often overlook because we tend to focus on the results rather than the road that leads to them. We see someone standing at the peak of their success and we admire the view from the top, but we forget to ask how many times they stumbled while climbing. Every great achievement, no matter how glorious it looks from the outside, is built on a foundation of personal sacrifices that often go unseen. Time is one of the biggest investments. When someone chooses to dedicate hours every day to mastering a skill, building a business, or studying a subject, they are not just working. They are sacrificing moments they could have spent elsewhere. They are giving up leisure, social gatherings, even rest, because they have chosen to prioritize something greater. Those hours of practice, study, and focused effort come at the cost of comfort and instant gratification. But those same hours are the building blocks of excellence. Then comes energy. It's not just about being busy, but about pouring emotional, physical, and mental energy into something consistently. There are days when you're tired, days when you're emotionally drained, and yet you keep going. Not because it's easy, but because the dream is worth it. That energy you give, that focus, that drive, that commitment is what separates dreamers from doers. Comfort, too, is often sacrificed. Growth rarely happens in comfort zones. Those who pursue great goals must often embrace discomfort. Waking up early when the body wants to rest, facing uncertainty when the mind wants security, and choosing discipline when the heart wants ease. The comfort of routine or familiarity of staying the same. All of that must be given up if you are serious about growing beyond your limits. And perhaps the hardest sacrifice is ego. Sometimes the journey humbles you. It shows you how much you don't know, how far you still have to go. You may have to admit failures, accept criticism, and take feedback. You might be overlooked or misunderstood. But if you let go of ego, you learn, you grow, and you rise. Because real strength doesn't come from defending your pride. It comes from surrendering your ego for your evolution. So yes, every achievement demands a cost. Nothing truly great ever comes for free. But the price you pay becomes the value you carry. And the deeper the sacrifice, the stronger the foundation you build your success upon. Like a seed that vanishes to grow into a tree, you must leave behind your comfort zone. The seed does not sprout until it is buried in darkness, deep in the soil, hidden from sight. It begins to break apart, shedding its outer shell, losing the form it once had. To an outside observer, it may seem like destruction, but in truth, it's transformation. The seed gives up its identity, not because it's weak, but because it's destined for something greater, to become a strong, towering tree. This is how growth works. You cannot stay the same and expect different results. You cannot cling to comfort, security, and predictability while chasing a life of growth, impact, and significance. There comes a time when we all must choose between what is easy and what is meaningful. The path to your dream will ask you to leave behind the habits, environments, and even relationships that no longer serve your purpose. And that is not always easy. Leaving the comfort zone feels uncertain because we are stepping away from what is known. The mind resists it. It likes routine. It likes control. It wants to hold on to familiarity. But dreams don't grow in safe places. They grow in the unknown, in the space where you stretch yourself, where you're forced to adapt, where you develop resilience. In the most transformative parts of your journey are never the most comfortable ones. Imagine someone who has always played safe, always done what was expected, never took a bold step. Their life may be stable, but not necessarily fulfilling. Meanwhile, those who chase something bigger, they stumble, they struggle, but they also grow. They become more self-aware, more capable, more courageous. Just like the seed, they lose parts of themselves, not to disappear, but to evolve. And this change is not instant. It's a process. The seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It takes time. Similarly, when you decide to step beyond your limits, you must have patience. There will be moments when you feel lost, when you doubt your path, when you question whether the sacrifice is worth it. But just as the seed trusts the soil, you must trust the process. Letting go of the old is the price you pay to grow into the new. You must allow parts of you to die, your fears, your excuses, your false beliefs, so something greater can be born. That's the beautiful paradox of transformation. You lose yourself only to find your true self. Success stories are built on silent sacrifices. Behind every highlight reel you see, the standing ovations, the applause, the medals, the achievements, there is a quiet, hidden chapter that rarely gets told. It's the early mornings when the world is still asleep, the late nights filled with doubt and fatigue, the missed birthdays, skipped vacations, and the emotional battles fought in silence. These are the moments no one claps for, but they are the ones that truly shape the journey. It's easy to admire someone's accomplishments when they're in the spotlight but what's hard to see is the discipline behind the scenes. The long hours of practice when nobody was watching, the times they failed and didn't give up, the times they felt like quitting but chose to keep going. These are not the parts that make it to social media or into motivational quotes. They are personal, quiet, and deeply painful. Yet, they are the foundation upon which success is built. Think of the musician who spent years perfecting their craft, playing alone in a small room while others partied. Think of the athlete training in the cold, pushing past exhaustion while others stayed warm in bed. Think of the writer rewriting the same paragraph a dozen times, invisible to the world, but fully immersed in their commitment. These sacrifices don't make headlines. But without them, there would be no headlines at all. What makes these sacrifices even more powerful is that they are not forced. They are chosen. No one compels a person to give up comfort or to embrace difficulty. They do it because they are driven by something deeper. A vision, a dream, a sense of purpose. And that quiet determination, that ability to endure the invisible struggles, is what separates those who wish from those who achieve. It's also important to realize that not everyone will understand these sacrifices. You may be judged, questioned, or even mocked. People might not see why you're working so hard or why you're not taking the normal path But that's because they haven't seen the mountain you're climbing. They don't feel the fire in your heart. And that's okay. Because your sacrifice isn't for show, it's for your growth. The world will eventually celebrate the result, but you will always remember the journey. The tears, the trials, the discipline, and the inner battles you won. And that will mean more to you than any applause ever could. Saying yes to your dream often means saying no to distractions. This is one of the most difficult but defining parts of chasing something meaningful. We all want to achieve great things, but few of us are willing to make the hard choices that keep us focused. Every time you commit to something big you're not just moving toward it. You're also moving away from things that don't align with it. That includes entertainment, comfort, even people who don't understand your vision. Distractions come in many forms. Some are obvious. Social media scrolling, binge watching shows, or wasting time on meaningless conversations. But some are subtle. Overcommitting to things that don't serve your dream. Saying yes to every invitation out of guilt or fear of missing out. Surrounding yourself with people who have no ambition simply because it feels comfortable. All of these things slowly, silently pull you away from your path. When you decide to chase a dream, you must protect your energy like a treasure. Time is not just passing, it's being invested. Every moment spent on distractions is a moment stolen from your purpose. That's why saying no becomes an act of discipline, even love, not only for your dream, but for your future self. It's not always easy. You might have to say no to friends who don't understand why you're not always available. You might have to miss out on short-term pleasures to focus on long-term goals. People might say you're too serious, too obsessed, too focused. But they won't say that when you finally achieve what they thought was impossible. There's a quiet power in choosing what matters most. It's not about being antisocial or cutting everyone off. It's about being intentional. When you say no to distractions, you're not being harsh, you're being wise. You're acknowledging that your dream deserves your full attention. Not just leftover energy after everything else has drained you. In a world full of noise, staying focused is an act of strength. When everyone is chasing likes, comfort, and approval, you chase purpose. And every time you say no to what doesn't align, you're making room for what truly does. That's how your dream grows. Not just by dreaming it, but by defending it every single day. Consistency beats talent when talent chooses comfort over commitment. We often hear people say they're so naturally gifted or they're born talented, and while that may be true, talent alone has never guaranteed success. Talent can open the door, but it's consistency that keeps you in the room. The world is full of incredibly talented people who never fulfilled their potential, not because they lacked skill, but because they lacked discipline. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not always exciting. It often looks like repetition, like doing the same thing day after day, especially when no one is watching. It's waking up early to train when you'd rather sleep in. It's practicing your craft even on days you don't feel inspired. It's showing up again and again when results are slow and motivation is nowhere to be found. While talent may give you a head start, it's consistency that carries you across the finish line. The truth is, consistency builds momentum. It's like compounding interest. The small, daily actions you take may not seem to make a difference today, but over time, they create a powerful foundation. When you're consistent, you improve, you learn, you grow. You make fewer excuses and more progress. And that consistency begins to separate you from others who may have more talent but less commitment. Think about the tortoise and the hare. The hare had all the speed and talent, but he relied on it and got complacent. The tortoise was slow, but he was steady. He kept going without drama, without distraction, and in the end he won. That fable isn't just a children's story. It's a mirror of life. Many people start strong, full of enthusiasm, but few stay steady when it gets hard, boring, or uncomfortable. That's when consistency becomes your superpower. Consistency is also about trust. When you are consistent, people start to rely on you. They see your work ethic. They respect your discipline. But most importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You build confidence not from talent, but from the knowledge that you are someone who keeps showing up no matter what. That inner trust becomes the fuel that drives you when everything else feels uncertain. And what often goes unnoticed is that consistency turns into mastery. What starts as struggle becomes skill. What once felt heavy becomes second nature. And all of that happens not in grand, dramatic moments, but in the quiet, ordinary ones, where you simply refuse to give up, where you choose purpose over comfort. Again and again, sacrifice refines your character. It doesn't just bring you closer to your goals. It transforms who you are on the inside. Every time you give something up for the sake of your dream, you're not just making progress externally, you're shaping yourself internally. Sacrifice teaches you to be patient when things don't go your way. It teaches you to be humble when your ego wants to take credit. It teaches you to persevere when quitting feels easier. These are not just lessons. They are qualities that form the foundation of a strong, grounded human being. You see, character is not built in moments of comfort. It's shaped in the furnace of struggle. When you're working hard and no one is noticing, when you keep your word even when it's inconvenient, when you resist shortcuts and choose the long, honest path, those moments are where integrity is born. You may not receive applause for them, but those moments define who you are far more than any external success. The process of sacrifice also makes you more empathetic. When you struggle you begin to understand the struggles of others. When you felt the sting of failure, the pain of rejection, or the burden of responsibility, you become slower to judge and quicker to support. That emotional depth is part of what makes you not just successful, but wise. It's easy to be arrogant when success comes quickly, but those who've sacrificed to get often carry a quiet dignity, a grounded nature that speaks louder than words. And then there's gratitude. The more you sacrifice, the more you begin to appreciate the journey. When you've worked hard for something, you don't take it for granted. You value the small wins You become grateful for the little things, the progress, the lessons, the growth. Sacrifice gives you perspective It teaches you to see what truly matters and to stop wasting time chasing things that don't feed your soul. Moreover, sacrifice develops resilience. When you've let go of comfort for something higher, you discover an inner strength you didn't know you had. You realize you can endure more than you thought. That strength becomes part of your identity. It's what allows you to keep going when others give up. And that kind of character, built through sacrifice, shaped by struggle, and polished by discipline, is what ultimately sustains your success when the spotlight fades. In the end, it's not just about reaching your dream. It's about who you become on the way there. And every sacrifice, every hard decision, every lonely night, it all plays a part in crafting that version of you not just a person who achieved something, but a person of strength, depth, and unshakable character. The journey may be lonely at times, but it's never without meaning. When you choose a path driven by purpose, when your dreams are bigger than convenience, and your vision stretches beyond what others can see, you will often find yourself walking alone. Not because you're wrong, but because you're rare. The deeper your commitment, the more find yourself separating from the crowd. It's not a punishment, it's part of the process. You may notice that your circle becomes smaller. Friends who once celebrated your every step may begin to fade away when they no longer understand your priorities. Invitations become fewer. Conversations become different. While others talk about the weekend, you're thinking about progress. While others chase comfort, you're embracing discipline. That difference in mindset creates distance. And with distance often comes loneliness. But within that loneliness lies something powerful. It teaches you to rely on yourself. It forces you to build inner strength, to trust your own voice, and to find stillness in solitude. You begin to distinguish between noise and clarity. You no longer need validation to feel valuable. You stop chasing attention and start honoring intention. That solitude becomes a sacred space where real growth happens. And something else begins to shift: your understanding of connection. You realize that meaningful relationships are not based on how often you talk, but how deeply you connect. You start to attract people who are aligned with your journey. Those who don't need explanations because they speak the same language of ambition, discipline, and depth. These connections may be few, but they are real. And they are rooted in shared values. At times, the loneliness may feel heavy. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when you question your path, when you long for companionship. But even those moments have meaning. They refine your commitment. They test your resilience. They give you the chance to decide whether your dream is real or just a phase. And each time you choose to keep going, you strengthen the foundation of your purpose. Walking alone also helps you recognize what truly matters. You become less interested in impressing others and more committed to impressing yourself. You stop comparing your path to someone else's highlight reel. You find peace in knowing that your journey is yours alone. And that's what makes it beautiful. The quiet, the solitude, the sacrifices, they're not signs of failure. They're signs of depth. So even when the road feels empty, it's never meaningless. Every step you take in solitude is a step toward authenticity. Every lonely moment is shaping a version of you that doesn't depend on applause to move forward. And while others may not always understand your path, the meaning you find in it will always be your silent reward. The pain of sacrifice is temporary, but the regret of giving up lasts a lifetime. In the moment, sacrifice can feel overwhelming. Waking up at 4 a.m. when your body craves more rest, saying no to a distraction that tempts you with ease, working through weekends while others unwind, facing failure and rejection repeatedly without losing hope. These experiences are not easy. They test your patience, drain your energy, and sometimes make you question your choices. But no matter how heavy they feel in the present, their weight eventually fades, leaving behind something far more powerful: pride, growth, and a life lived with intention. Now compare that with regret. Regret doesn't show up immediately. It comes silently, slowly, often later in life, when it's too late to go back and choose differently. It shows up when the window of opportunity has closed and you realize that you didn't give your dream a fair chance, that you gave into fear, that you chose comfort over challenge, that you talked yourself out of your purpose. And the worst part about regret is that it lingers. It doesn't fade as sacrifice does. It stays like a quiet echo in the back of your mind, reminding you of what could have been. We often think avoiding pain is the smarter choice. But the truth is, both sacrifice and regret are painful. The difference is sacrifice is the pain of growth, while regret is the pain of missed chances. Sacrifice builds you, sharpens you, prepares you. Regret only haunts you. It doesn't lead anywhere. It keeps you stuck in the memory of what you didn't do. Think about the people who truly live fulfilled lives. It's not that they had it easy. In fact, they often had to endure more than most. Setbacks, failures, rejections, lonely nights, and moments of despair. But they chose to carry the weight of sacrifice because they understood its value. And now, they don't live with what ifs. They live with the satisfaction of knowing they gave it everything they had. They don't wonder if they could have done more, because they did. So yes, sacrifice is painful. It demands consistency, courage, and commitment. But it ends, it transforms. And eventually, you look back and realize it was worth it. Regret, on the other hand, never transforms. It grows heavier with time. It becomes a burden on your spirit, a shadow over your dreams. The temporary discomfort of discipline is far better than the lifelong itch of knowing you walked away too soon. When you face a difficult choice, to quit or to continue, to sacrifice or to settle, remember this: one choice will challenge you now, the other will chase you forever. Choose wisely. When the dream is big, sacrifice becomes sacred. Not a burden, but a badge of honor. It stops feeling like something you're forced to do and starts becoming something you choose with pride. There is a deep, almost spiritual power in aligning your life with a purpose so meaningful that even the pain begins to feel purposeful. You no longer see the sacrifices as losses. Instead, you begin to recognize them as investments, offerings you place at the altar of your dream. Every time you give up temporary pleasure for long-term purpose, it changes your relationship with sacrifice. The late nights, the missed celebrations, the moments of isolation, they no longer feel like suffering. They become symbols of your dedication. Like a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. You begin to understand that it's through the sacrifice of pieces that the masterpiece is revealed. Each sacrifice chips away at what's unnecessary, revealing the strength and clarity within. When the dream is big, your mindset shifts. You stop looking for easy roads. You stop asking, oh, how little can I give? And start asking, how much can I pour in? Your effort becomes an offering. Your consistency becomes your prayer. Your discipline becomes your devotion. And in this devotion, sacrifice is no longer something you avoid. It becomes sacred because it connects you to your deepest self. There's also beauty in what it teaches you about value. You begin to appreciate everything you earn because you know what it cost you. You don't take progress for granted. You don't chase shortcuts because you respect the process, the very act of giving up something valuable. Time, comfort, sleep, ego makes what you're working for even more meaningful. You become more present, more grateful, more aligned with the journey than ever before. And slowly, others begin to notice not just your results, but your energy, your clarity, your focus. To be They may not understand everything you gave up, but they'll feel the strength of what you've built. Your discipline, your peace, your wisdom, all of it rooted in sacred sacrifice. What once felt heavy now feels holy. What once felt like struggle now feels like strength. You realize that you didn't just build success, you built soul. When your dream becomes your mission, sacrifice is no longer something you endure. It's something you embrace. Not because it's easy, but because it's worthy. And there's no greater feeling than knowing that your journey, though difficult, was never random. It was intentional. Every choice, every moment of discipline, every no you said to the world, every yes you whispered to your purpose, it all mattered. And in that realization, sacrifice becomes something far beyond effort. It becomes sacred.